Emeka don't fall.
Stingy man want turn landlord because of woman shape.
The new tenant name was Iyoma, a fine girl from head to toe, the kind of beauty that made women frown and men forget their home training. She didn't just walk into the compound. She glided hips moving left and right like Lagos Danfo wipers. Now, how did she even find Emeka's family house? Well, 1 week earlier, Ijeoma had been house hunting. She went to one Ajegunle house agent, those fast-talking men with oversized shirts and chewing stick in their mouths. The agent boasted like he was about to show her Banana Island. "Ah, madam, I get one fine house for you. Borehole water day, generator day, spacious rooms, and the landlord's son is very responsible, caring gentleman." Of course, the responsible gentleman the man was describing was Emeka, who in reality was stingy, troublesome, and allergic to buying fuel. But Iyoma didn't know that. She smiled and agreed. The agent pocketed his commission happily and pointed her to Emeka's compound. When she arrived that Sunday, dragging her small Ghana must-go, the tenants expected the usual ritual: argument, paperwork, and Emeka's famous compound rules and regulations. Normally, if any new tenant entered, Emeka would stand like village headmaster, adjusting his trousers and declaring, "No fetching water after 9 p.m. No playing loud music without clearance from me. Every Saturday, all tenants must contribute for compound sweeping." But that day, nothing like that. The moment Emeka saw Ijoma, his mouth dried up, his throat was vibrating. He almost shouted hallelujah right there. "Ah, welcome, my sister. No stress, no problem. You are free to enter immediately. Don't mind these tenants, they are not serious. As for compound rules, forget that one. In fact, you are the rule." The tenants gasped. Mama Nkichi Zakara almost fell from her hand. Mr. Tay dropped his chewing stick. Mama Chibuzor held her big belly and shouted, "Hizu! Na Emeka de talk this one." Normally, Emeka would argue and shout for days before giving anyone a room. But here he was, smiling like a goat that found yam. He grabbed Ioma's bag himself and announced proudly, "This room is yours, my dear. Don't worry about rent yet. We will talk later. Just come inside." The tenants nearly fainted. Mr. Tay whispered, "So this is how women will finish this, our Emeka. Just see him." Emeka didn't care. He was already daydreaming, imagining himself and Ijoma fetching borehole water together, cooking together, even quarrelling together, because Emeka could not survive without quarrels. From that day, the compound discovered one eternal truth. All Emeka's stinginess and stubbornness melted like ice whenever Ijoma smiled. The borehole water had finished again. As usual, buckets were lined up like Lagos traffic, but this time the compound was unusually quiet. Nobody wanted to risk waking Emeka's Wahala. Inside her room, Iyoma was humming one sweet gospel tune, tying her towel ready to bathe. But when she turned her bucket upside down, kabam! Not even half cup of water. She tied her wrapper tight and stepped into the corridor. Her hips moved, her face calm, but her voice sharp. Where is water in this compound?" Mama Nkechi whispered, Sister Ijeoma, water don finisho. You know our chairman. If you want water, go and beg him to on Jen." But Ijeoma folded her arms, eyes flashing. "Beg who? Emeka. For what? Is it his mouth we will use to pump water? Where is the generator?" The tenants exchanged glances. Nobody in history had ever challenged Emeka like this. Before anyone could answer, Iyoma marched straight to the corner where Emeka's stubborn generator sat like a fat toad. She yanked the rope. Vroom, vroom, vroom! Kabakata! The generator roared to life. The compound froze. Children dropped their slates. Mama Chibuzor nearly dropped her unborn baby. Mr. Tay whispered like he had seen a ghost. "She on 'em. She on the gen with her own hand. Ha! This girl is not ordinary." Buckets filled, water gushed, tenants smiled. For once there was peace. But then, Emeka returned. He strutted into the compound in his usual fashion, trousers unzipped halfway, chest out, one hand carrying gala, the other holding pure water. The moment he saw the generator running, his eyes bulged like boiled eggs. "Who dared on my gen?" he roared, dropping his gala on the ground like a Nollywood villain. "Do you people want to spoil my engine? This generator has delicate heart condition. Who touched it?" The tenants kept quiet, looking at one another. Finally, Mama and Kichi coughed. "Emeka, eh?" It was Ijeoma. Instant silence. Emeka froze. His fury dissolved faster than sugar in hot tea. He blinked, adjusted his trousers, cleared his throat, then said in a softer voice, "Oh, is it Ijeoma? That's okay, it's fine. She can on it any time. In fact, she should be the only one allowed to touch it from today." The tenant's jaws dropped. Just then, Ijeoma herself came out, still in her towel, face glowing with defiance. She folded her arms and fired. "Emeka, are you mad? Ordinary generator, you are forming lion. Better control yourself, because next time I won't just on it, I will carry it to my room." The tenants gasped. "Jesu, she insulted him live." Everyone waited for Emeka to explode, but instead he just smiled sheepishly, scratching his shiny head. Inside him, his heart was dancing a zonto. He couldn't even reply. Because no matter the insult, one truth held him captive. Emeka was in love. One of Emeka's favourite landlord rules in the compound was simple and strict. No playing loud music after 8 p.m. If you disobey, you will see my true colour. Everybody knew this rule. In fact, the tenants used to joke that it was stricter than WAEC exam regulations. If Mama and Nkachi's radio hummed after 8:01 p.m, Emeka would storm out shouting, "Are we in Quilocks? Abeg, reduce that nonsense noise before I seize that radio." If Mr. Tay played Davido at night, Emeka would bang his door and scream, "You think say this place in a club? I will call police for you, oh." If children played cartoons too loud, he would shout, "Tell these pekin to sleep before I off that TV myself." But then came Ijeoma. One Friday night, while the tenants were preparing to sleep, the sweet sound of Tiwa Savage's music floated out from Ijeoma's room. The bass was vibrating, the beats bouncing off the cracked compound walls. Emeka, who was already lying down, shot up immediately. He stormed out like usual, chest out, slippers slapping the floor. "Who is playing music by this time?" Then he paused. The sound was coming from Ijeoma's room. Emeka froze, adjusted his singlet. His voice softened like butter. "Ah, it's Ijeoma. Okay, nah." Instead of shouting, he quietly dragged one plastic chair, sat down outside and began nodding his head to the beat. The tenants peeped through their curtains, shocked. Mama Chibazor whispered, "See our chairman, he don't turn DJ fan because of woman." The next day it happened again. Ijeoma played WizKid at 10:30 p.m. loud, window shaking. Normally, Emeka would have chased the person out of the compound by now, but this time he tiptoed to her door, knocked lightly and said, "Ijeoma, can you reduce it small? Not because it's disturbing me. Oh, but because, mosquitoes are dancing too much." Ijeoma laughed from inside her room and increased the volume instead. And what did Emeka do? He laughed too, scratching his bald head like a clown, and went back to his room quietly. From that night, everybody in the compound understood a new law. Rule number 1, nobody should play loud music after 8 p.m. Except Ijeoma. And whenever she did, Emeka would just keep quiet, pretending to enjoy the melody, because love had turned the once fearsome compound chairman into a backup dancer. Every Saturday morning in Ajegunle, the tenants followed an unwritten constitution, compound sweeping duty. One tenant after another took turns to sweep the front yard, chase away stubborn goats, and clear the gutters, before Emeka could start shouting. Nobody dared miss their turn, because if you did, Emeka the compound commander would appear, hands akimbo, voice thundering. Is this how you people were trained in your father's house? Sweep this place now, before I fine you. I will report you to Landlord Association of Nigeria. Tenants feared him, even though technically he wasn't the landlord. But one fateful Saturday, it was Iyioma's turn. Morning came, roosters crowed, tenants waited. Instead of broom sounds, they heard music blasting from Iyioma's room, Niniola's dance track. Mama Nkechi peeped out, broom in hand. She muttered, "This girl no even tie wrapper come outside." The compound watched, no sweeping. The ground was littered with Akara papers, gala sachets, and one stubborn goat was eating yam peel in the corner. Finally, Emeka came out, chewing groundnuts ready to roar. "Who is supposed to sweep today? Don't let me catch you." Someone pointed. "It's Ijeoma." Emeka froze. He looked at Ijioma's window where her sweet perfume was already floating out with the music. He cleared his throat, dropped his voice and said, "Ah, maybe she is busy. Maybe she has important assignment. Yes, we will sweep for her today." The tenants' eyes nearly fell out of their sockets. Sweep for who? But Emeka was serious. He picked up a broom. Emeka. The same Emeka who once chased Mama Chibuzo for missing her sweeping day, now holding broom himself. As he bent down to sweep, Mama Nkechi couldn't hold it anymore. She shouted, "So because of one fine girl you turned to cleaner. Emeka, are you okay?" But Emeka just smiled, shaking his head. "You people don't understand. Love is a higher law than sweeping duty." At that exact moment, Iyoma stepped out in her shining Ankara wrapper, yawning. She saw Emeka sweeping and smirked. "Ah, Oga Emeka, you are doing well. Continue. Don't forget to sweep the gutter too." The whole compound screamed with laughter. Emeka, sweeping gutter. But what did Emeka do? He nodded and said, "Yes, my dear, anything for you." And so the broom scandal was born. From that day, one rule was clear. All tenants must sweep. Except Ijoma. Because in Emeka's eyes, she was not just a tenant. She was his future Madam Landlady. One breezy evening in Ajegunle, Iyoma was returning from the market. She carried her Ghana Musco bag filled with tomatoes, pepper and fish, strutting like a queen. Her waist beads jingled as she walked, and her perfume fought with the aroma of dried stockfish in her bag. But just before she reached the compound gate, 3 notorious street boys, Shagari, Two Bottle and Mosquito, blocked her path. "Ha ha, a fine girl where you did go. Drop one smile for the boys nah," Shagari teased, his teeth shining like abandoned bathroom tiles. Ijoma hissed, "Shift jaw. I no get time for nonsense." The boys laughed, circling her. "Nah wa-oh, this one get mouth. Oya, drop one tomato, make we taste." Just then, like a Nollywood scene, Emeka appeared from nowhere, shirt half unbuttoned, chest looking like a loaf of agege bread. He puffed himself up like a wrestling champion. "Leave her alone. Do you know who she is? She's under my protection," he thundered. The boys turned. One squinted. "Who be this broomstick Wade shout?" Emeka ignored the insult, spread his legs in a karate stance he once saw on African Magic. "If you touch her, you will see the lion of Ajegunle today." Unfortunately, the lion quickly became a goat. Because before Emeka could finish his heroic speech, Two Bottle gave him one slap that sounded like PHCN transformer exploding. Gah! Emeka staggered, his legs shaking like Nipa pole in rainy season. Iyoma screamed, "Emeka!" But Emeka, still wobbling, shouted weakly, "Don't worry, my dear. I am still standing." Then Mosquito kicked him and he sat down immediately. Before they could continue, Iyoma raised her bag and smashed it on Shagari's head, tomatoes flying like fireworks. The boys cursed, picked race, and disappeared down the street. Now the scene changed. Emeka, bruised and groaning, was carried by Ijeoma into the compound like a wounded soldier. Tenants gathered, whispering, "See this our landlord, beaten like Puff Puff." But at least he'd try. Small heroism still day inside him. Inside his room, Ijeoma boiled hot water, fetched Rob, and began tending to him. "You this, Emeka, why did you even fight them? You don't even have muscle. Look at your chest, like frying pan." Emeka winced as she rubbed his back. "I cannot stand and watch fine girl like you suffer. Even if they beat me, I must protect you." Ijeoma paused, surprised. She looked at him closely. For once, Emeka wasn't shouting or forming landlord-boss. He looked sincere. She smiled slightly and said, "At least you tried. You're my lion, even if no baby lion." From that day, even though the compound mocked him as hero without muscles, Ijeoma began to see Emeka differently. Behind all the stinginess, wahala, and quarrels, there was a small, soft heart, beating only for her. After the hero without muscles incident, Emeka's head was swelling like agege bread. Ijeoma now looked at him with small respect, even though the boys beat sense out of him. From that day, Emeka decided, "I must woo this fine girl properly. If I don't, another man will come with six-packs and carry her away." So, Emeka began Operation Romantic Surprise. First, he borrowed his friend's generator, the one that sounded like a wounded lion, and used it to power the compound light, just so Ioma's room would shine brighter than all others. When tenants complained about noise, Emeka shouted, "Everybody shut up! This generator is not for you. It's for special purposes." They all rolled their eyes. Next, Emeka went to the market to buy foodstuffs. His plan was to cook a love dinner. Normally, he would never waste money on fancy things, but this time he splurged. Chicken, not frozen, live one. Rice, small wine, and, because he wanted to show class, cucumber and apple. Back at home, Wahala started. The chicken refused to die. Emeka chased it round the compound for 30 minutes until it ran into Mama Nkechi's room. Tenants were shouting, "Oga Emeka, your chicken don scatter my room-o?" Finally, he caught it, killed it, and began cooking. The problem? Emeka's cooking skill was as bad as his fighting skill. He poured too much curry, too little salt, and by the time the rice was done, it looked like yellow gari with smoke flavour. But Emeka arranged the food on the table, sprayed air freshener, and even borrowed plastic flowers from his neighbour. He dressed in his best shirt, red with tiger face drawn on it, and sprayed enough perfume to choke a mosquito. Then he knocked on Ihioma's door. "My dear, please come. I have prepared something small for you." Ijeoma entered and gasped. "Wow, Emeka, you did all this? For me?" Emeka smiled proudly, showing all 42 teeth. "Yes, my love, you deserve it." They sat. Ijeoma took 1 spoon of rice and paused. She forced a smile. Delicious. But her eyes watered like she was chopping onions. Emeka didn't notice. He was too busy watching her lips as she chewed. "Eat, my dear, eat. I cooked it with love." Halfway through the meal, the generator suddenly offed. Brum, copra. Darkness everywhere. The tenants outside shouted, "Anne! Generator don tire! Nah, love go repair 'am?" Ijeoma laughed so hard she nearly spilled her food. Emeka tried to form cool, but sweat covered his face. At the end of the night, even though the rice nearly poisoned her, Ijeoma smiled. Nobody had ever gone through so much trouble just to impress her. She touched his arm softly and said, "You're stubborn, you're stingy, and your rice is terrible. But you tried. Thank you, Emeka." For Emeka, that was enough. In his mind, wedding bells were already ringing. After the disastrous romantic dinner, Emeka knew he had to level up his game. If food couldn't win Ijeoma's heart, then maybe spirituality would. One Sunday morning, he put on his brightest agbada, the one he normally reserves for Christmas and burial ceremonies. The agbada was so wide it could cover 3 people. He carried his oversized Bible big enough to be a pillow and followed Ijeoma to her church. The compound tenants were shocked. "Ah, Oga Emeka, where you dey go with this whole parachute cloth?" "He dey follow fine girl go worship na." When they reached the church, the ushers almost mistook Emeka for a visiting pastor because of the agbada. They even gave him front seat. Ijeoma hid her face in embarrassment. The service started. Choir singing, pastor preaching, everything smooth until offering time. Normally Emeka is stingy, but today he wanted to impress Ijeoma. So he stood up dramatically, walked to the offering basket, and dropped his money with the swagger of Dangote. But problem? He dropped 50 naira note, folded like groundnut wrap. People gasped. "So this is the big agbada man? Only 50 naira?" Ijeoma nearly fainted. But that was not the real embarrassment. During praise and worship, Emeka decided to show off his dancing anointing. He removed his agbada and started dancing zanku, then switched to legwork, then ended with split. The choir stopped for a moment, watching him like drama. Pastor finally said into the mic, "Brother, may the Lord deliver your legs from the spirit of shaku shaku." The whole church burst into laughter. Still, Emeka refused to be ashamed. He wiped sweat from his forehead and shouted, "Amen, Pastor, Amen." At the end of service, while others quietly walked out, Emeka rushed to Ijeoma. "My dear, did you see me? Even Pastor noticed my zeal." Ijeoma just shook her head. Zeal? That was not zeal. That was madness. "Please don't follow me to church again." But deep down, even as she scolded him, she was laughing. No man had ever disgraced themselves so much just to impress her. And somehow, she found his foolishness cute. One cool evening, Ijeoma sat outside the compound sipping malt and fanning herself. The other tenants were gossiping as usual, but her mind was elsewhere. She had now spent enough time in the compound to notice something strange. The house was big, 6 rooms, each with a borehole connection. But the walls were cracked, the paint looked like old pap, and the staircase creaked like somebody crying. And the landlord's son, Emeka, big printing press owner known across Lagos, was still living inside this rundown place like a village cockroach. So she turned to him. "Emeka," she said softly, "why are you still here? You're making money. You're famous. Why don't you renovate this place or even build a new house for yourself?" The whole compound froze. Nobody had ever dared ask Emeka that question. Even Mama Nkechi dropped her broom to listen. Emeka leaned back in his plastic chair, chest pushed out, as if preparing for TED Talk. He cleared his throat. "My dear, let me tell you who I am. I am not just Emeka, I am Chakabarha the Great. Do you know what that means? It means I was born to suffer small but shine big. My family house is not ordinary, it is ancestral property. Do you want me to abandon the sweat of my forefathers?" Ijeoma raised an eyebrow. "But the house is falling apart, even the lizards here are coughing." Emeka shook his head dramatically. "You don't understand. When I was in service, I promised my late parents that I would turn this place into a mansion. But when accident carried them away, my heart broke. Since then, I decided, no woman, no government, no compound people will force me to rebuild until my spirit is ready." The tenants whispered. Mama Nkechi hissed, "Nalai! The man is just stingy." But Emeka wasn't done. He stood up, pacing like a politician. "I have money, yes. I get contracts, yes. But I don't spend on nonsense."
This house is my kingdom, and I am the lion that guards it. If the paint is peeling, let it peel. If the borehole is dry, let it dry. This is my father's sweat, and nobody will force me to change it. By now, sweat was pouring from his head. His agbada sleeves were flying as he gestured like a senator. Ijeoma stared at him for a long moment, then burst into laughter. "So all this grammar, the summary is you are stingy." The whole compound erupted. "Yes, oh, stingy lion," they chorused. Emeka looked wounded but still proud. He pointed at his chest. Call me stingy, call me stubborn, call me Wahala, but one day, when I rebuild this house, the whole Ajegunle will bow to me. Ioma smiled, shaking her head. Deep inside, she saw a mixture of pain and pride in him. But on the outside, all she could say was, Emeka, you're a case. Truly a case. After weeks of quarrels, laughter, and plenty of embarrassment, something strange began to happen. Emeka and Ioma started becoming close. It didn't start big. At first, it was little things. When Emeka shouted at tenants about borehole water, Ijeoma was the only one who could tell him shut up, jaw, and he would actually keep quiet. When Ijeoma returned from work late, Emeka would wait outside pretending he was inspecting the compound's security, but everybody knew he was just waiting to see her smile. When Emeka quarreled with Mama Nkichi, it was Ijeoma who dragged him inside before he got insulted to pieces. Slowly, the compound commander was turning into compound gentleman. One evening, Ijeoma sat with him under the mango tree, sipping pure water. She looked at him carefully and said, Emeka, you're a good man, but you're wasting yourself. Look at your business. It's doing well, but you're still living like a struggling student. Why? Emeka scratched his head. My dear, it is not easy. I don't like spending anyhow. Money is like a kara. If you don't guard it, it will finish. Ijeoma laughed. But money is also like a kara. If you keep it too long, it will spoil. That one touched him. Nobody had ever explained it like that before. So little by little, Ijeoma started influencing him. She convinced him to buy new shirts instead of wearing the same tiger face shirt every Sunday. She pushed him to change the paint of the house gate from rust brown to actual green. She even helped him draft a budget that allowed him to pump borehole water regularly without shouting. The tenants were in shock. Is this the same Emeka that will fight because of one sachet of pure water? But the real miracle came when Ijeoma said, Emeka, you promised your parents you would rebuild this house. Why don't you start now? I'll help you plan it. At first, Emeka resisted. He gave one long speech about ancestral preservation of cracked walls. But when Ijeoma added softly, don't you want your children to grow in a better place? Emeka's chest melted like butter in hot sun. A few months later, workers arrived at the compound. The house began to transform. Cracks were plastered, walls painted, windows changed. For the first time in Ajegunle history, the tenants saw progress. But the shock of all shocks, Emeka bought a car. Not Kiki, not Okada, not second-hand bicycle. A real Toyota Corolla. Granted, the horn sounded like a goat with catarrh, but it was still a car. The tenants hailed him. Oga Emeka, your level don change, oh. And when people asked him what caused the sudden transformation, Emeka simply pointed at Ijeoma and said with pride, she is my personal advisor, my minister of enjoyment, and my special assistant on spending matters. Everyone laughed, but inside they knew the truth. Ijeoma had turned the stingy lion into a man who could finally roar with pride. As the renovation continued and Emeka's new Corolla began to cruise the street, the tenants could no longer keep calm. Before, they were used to mocking him. See landlord Pekin, way no get sense, stingy like snail. But now, Emeka was painting walls, fixing pipes, even paying laborers on time. And all of them knew the truth. It was because of Ijeoma. Mama Nkechi started the gossip network. While frying a kara, she whispered, since that fine girl entered this compound, our landlord has changed. He's spending money like thief that just hammer me. I don't trust it. Oh. Papa Chibuzor added fuel. I even hear say, nah, the girl that told him to buy car. If care is not taken, tomorrow she will tell him to sell the whole house. Even Small Blessing, the tailor's apprentice, was gossiping. Uncle Emeka no dey shout again. Na love day finish am. Na so dem dey do before woman collect everything. Soon, jealousy turned into pettiness. If Emeka greeted the tenants, they would reply with dry, If he pumped water for the compound instead of thank you, they would mutter, he's only doing it because of his madam. Even when he drove his Corolla out, they would say, see as he dey form. Small Toyota and he thinks say he don hammer. One evening, Emeka overheard them gossiping. Normally he would come out breathing fire like dragon, but this time he just smiled, adjusted his sunglasses, and entered his car. Ijeoma was beside him laughing. You see them? They're just jealous because you're finally enjoying your life. Emeka nodded proudly. Let them talk. Talk is cheap. If they want, they should go and find their own Ijeoma. The tenants nearly fainted when they saw Emeka driving off with Ijeoma blasting love songs from his car stereo. Even the horn sounded like it was mocking them. Meh, meh, meh. That night, Mama Nkechi called an emergency tenants meeting. She declared, we must watch this girl. If not, one day we will wake up and see that the whole house is now her own. Mark my words. But deep down, even in their jealousy, the tenants knew one thing. Ijeoma was the best thing that had ever happened to Emeka and to the entire compound. Because at least now the borehole had water, the walls had paint, and the landlord had stopped looking like a poverty mascot. Word had already spread in the area that Emeka and Ijeoma were getting close. Too close. Some mischievous boys in the neighborhood decided to cash out from it. They disguised themselves as Ijeoma's relatives to test Emeka's husband material. One Saturday morning, just as Emeka was polishing his Corolla with an old boxer short, 3 men in oversized suits marched into the compound. One carried a Bible, another held a walking stick, and the last one wore dark shades like Nollywood chief priest. They thundered at the gate, we are Ijeoma's uncles from the village. The tenants rushed out, whispering excitedly. Mama Nkechi almost fainted with laughter. Ah, today na today. Emeka go hear Emeka came forward, chest out like turkey. Welcome, my in-laws. Please sit down, sit down. He quickly fetched his plastic chairs, the ones with only 3 good legs. The uncles sat carefully, the chairs wobbling like politicians' promises. The tallest one cleared his throat. Young man, we have come to investigate you. Our niece is very precious. Tell us, what do you do for a living? Emeka adjusted his shirt and boasted. I am the owner of Chakabaha Printing Press. Companies beg me to print their flyers. If I sneeze, Ajegunle will hear it. The fake uncles nodded, trying not to laugh. Then the one with Bible spoke. That is good. But can you take care of our daughter? Marriage is expensive. Normally, Emeka would shout, Marriage K, waste of money. But with Ijeoma watching from her window, he forced himself to smile. Money is not my problem. I can marry her today if you people agree. The chief priest uncle leaned forward. Okay, to prove yourself, bring cola nut, 1 carton of beer and 50,000 naira for transport. The tenants screamed. Ah, Emeka go faint today. True to prophecy, Emeka's face changed instantly. His stingy spirit resurrected. Anne? 50 what? Which kind transport is that? Plane ticket to America. The fake uncles insisted, even threatening. If you cannot do it, we will take Ijeoma back to the village immediately. Emeka panicked. He started sweating like Gary in hot water. He ran inside, brought 5,000 naira instead and knelt down. Please take this small one for fuel. I will balance you later. The tenants were rolling on the ground, laughing. See landlord on his knees. TrueLove on humble arm. But the joke didn't last. Just then Rael Ijeoma came out, confused. Uncles? Which uncles? I don't know these people, oh. The compound exploded. Emeka's eyes widened. Anne? Fake? He tried to snatch back his 5,000 naira, but the boys had already vanished down the street like Olympic runners. Emeka stood there trembling with anger, the tenants clapping and cheering. Oga, Emeka, now your in-laws, congratulations! Ijeoma just shook her head, laughing so hard she nearly fell. "Emeka, you will not kill me with your drama." And that day went into Ajegunle history as the fake in-laws saga. By now, Emeka had made up his mind. He must marry Ijeoma. In his heart, she was already Madam Landlady, Minister of Borehole Affairs. But Emeka knew he couldn't just open mouth and say, "Marry me." No, he needed drama. So he planned a surprise proposal. He polished his Corolla till it shone like gala nylon. He wore his brightest red suit, the one that made him look like an overripe tomato, sprayed half a bottle of perfume, and borrowed a cheap plastic ring from his friend, who sold accessories. Because Emeka loved attention, he invited all the tenants for compound meeting. Nobody knew what was happening. Even Mama Nkechi tied 2 wrappers, ready to quarrel. When Ijeoma stepped out of her room, looking fine as usual, Emeka suddenly dropped to one knee in the middle of the compound. The tenants gasped. He cleared his throat. "My people, today history will be made. Since I met this angel, water has been flowing in the borehole. Generator has been working, even Napa has been giving us small light. She is my miracle. Ijeoma, will you marry me?" Everybody screamed. Some clapped, some shouted, "Say yes," while others muttered, "Let's see this drama end." But just as Emeka opened the small ring box, Wahala struck. The cheap ring slipped from his sweaty hand and bounced straight into the gutter. As he tried to chase it, his oversized red trouser tore loudly at the back, "Kabra!" exposing his Superman boxers. At that exact moment, his Corolla alarm went off by itself, "Pew, pew, pew," as if mocking him. The tenants collapsed with laughter. Mama Nkechi was rolling on the floor shouting, "Superman landlord Don propose inside gutter." Emeka, humiliated but determined, stood up, pointing at Ijeoma. "Forget the ring, forget the trouser, answer the question." Ijeoma was laughing so hard, tears ran down her cheeks. She held her stomach, then looked at him with soft eyes. "Emeka, you're mad, you're stingy, and you're dramatic. Honestly, I don't know what life would be in this compound without you. So, yes." The tenants screamed louder than World Cup final. Some danced, some shouted, "Landlady Don Lando." Emeka puffed out his chest proudly, even with torn trousers, and declared, "From today, no tenant should call me Ogre Emeka again. Call me Ogre Madam Landlord." And that was how the most disgraceful but unforgettable proposal in Ajegunle history happened. When Emeka announced his intention to marry Ijeoma, the whole compound started behaving like CNN correspondents, reporting the gist up and down Ajegunle. By the next day, even vulcanizers and suya sellers were gossiping. "You hear say that stingy landlord Don catch fine babe? Nah lie. Nah the girl catch 'em. That one no fit catch mosquito Seth." Later, Ijeoma's people invited Emeka for the traditional marriage rites in the village. Emeka, being Emeka, insisted on going in style. He borrowed his friend's Lexus Jeep, because his Corolla had too many scratches and one stubborn door that refused to close properly. The journey itself was pure comedy. Emeka wore agbada so large that he looked like a moving parachute. He carried a walking stick, dark shades, and kept shouting from the front seat, "Clear road! Future in-law day pass." The Lexus broke down twice, and at one point villagers pushed it while Emeka stood outside, fanning himself like a chief. At Ijeoma's father's compound, Emeka faced the elders. They asked for the bride price list. When Emeka saw it, his eyes nearly popped out. 2 big goats, 1 bag of rice, chananturi, 1 carton of malt, 1 crate of star beer, 10 tubers of yam, 50,000 naira cash, and miscellaneous. Emeka shouted, "Ha! Which one be miscellaneous again? Is it borehole receipt?" The elders laughed, but Ijeoma's father said calmly, "Miscellaneous means whatever your stingy spirit is hiding from us." The tenants who followed from Lagos to witness the drama nearly collapsed with laughter. Finally, they brought out the palm wine for Ijeoma to find her husband and give him to drink. Ijeoma, smiling, carried the calabash around. Emeka stood up, adjusting his agbada like a masquerade. But before she reached him, one hungry uncle stretched his hand and tried to grab the drink. Emeka shouted, "Oga, leave Nami shida find. I am the stingy one, not you." The crowd roared with laughter. At last, Ijeoma gave him the calabash. Emeka swallowed the palm wine like someone who hadn't drunk since NYSC camp. He raised the cup and shouted, "From today, Borehole will never finish again." To seal the marriage, Emeka was asked to dance with his new bride. Instead of normal gentle dancing, Emeka started shaking his waist like Zanku dance gone wrong. His agbada kept flying up, revealing his Superman boxers again. Even the drummers stopped playing because they were laughing too much. Children were rolling on the ground. Elders were shaking heads. But through the shame, Ijeoma smiled, held his hand and whispered, "Don't worry, my Superman landlord. From today, I'll manage your madness." And that was how Emeka successfully disgraced himself into marriage. Lagos' reception was planned, and because Emeka believed he was now high class, he booked a reception hall in Ajegunle that looked fine outside, but inside had ceiling fans that sounded like helicopter blades. On the D-Day, Emeka and Ijeoma arrived in his newly acquired Toyota Camry. Tokunbo, but he renamed it Camry 2025 Limited Edition. Instead of coming out gently, Emeka ordered the MC, "Play me music of kings, play fella." The DJ mistakenly played Doraim I. Emeka started catwalking like ritualist. Tenants in the crowd screamed, "Landlord Don join cult O." You see, Emeka and Stinginess are twin brothers. He calculated food with mathematics precision. 1 small cooler of rice for 200 guests. 2 crates of maltina for the whole compound. Half goat meat for pepper soup. By the time only 30 people had eaten, the food finished. The rest of the guests started grumbling. Mama Nkichi shouted from her table, "Nami dey pay rent every year, yet dem no give me meat. Oga Emeka, you stingy even for your own wedding." The hall scattered with laughter. When it was time to spray money, Emeka refused to spray Naira notes. Instead, he came with coins, 1 Naira coins he had been saving since secondary school. He started throwing them in the air like confetti. People were dodging for their heads. 1 coin even landed inside the MC's mouth. Ita, the DJ stopped music, shouting, "Oga, this is not money rain. This is money stoning." Then came the couple's dance. Ijeoma was dancing gently, smiling like a bride. But Emeka removed his agbada, tied wrapper, and started doing legwork, shoki, and even wrestling moves. At one point, he carried Ijeoma like wrestler body-slamming opponent. The crowd screamed. Ijeoma nearly fainted. But she stood up, dusted herself, and kept smiling, because she had already accepted her fate. As the reception was ending, Emeka grabbed the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Please, if you came with cooler, kindly return it. If you collected spoon, beg drop it back. And remember, from today, borehole maintenance fee will increase because I now have wife to feed." The entire hall burst into uncontrollable laughter. Even the DJ collapsed on his keyboard. And that was how Emeka turned his wedding reception into a live comedy show. Till today, people in Ajegunle still use it as reference. If your party no funny like Emeka's wedding, beg no invite us. After all the disgrace, laughter, and coin throwing, Emeka and Ijeoma finally settled into married life in the Ajegunle compound. But if anybody thought marriage would calm Emeka down, they were dreaming. From that day, the compound knew peace had packed out permanently. Emeka would still quarrel about borehole water, but now Ijeoma would just walk past him, own the generator, pump water, and everybody would hail her as Madam Borehole. When tenants tried to complain, Ijeoma would stand with hands on her waist and chase them with grammar until they surrendered. The only time Emeka kept quiet was when Ioma played loud music or refused to sweep. Then he would just sit inside and pretend not to hear, sipping gari like philosopher. But one thing changed. With Ioma by his side, Emeka actually began to improve. He renovated the house, painted it bright yellow, though he argued it looked like Gold Mansion, and even bought himself a new car that didn't require prayers to start. Ajegunle people began to say, "Our love is truly powerful. Even stingy landlord don't change." And at the center of it all was Ioma, the only woman who could silence Emeka with just one look. So in the end, the story of Emeka wasn't about a stingy landlord who troubled tenants. It was about a stingy landlord who finally found someone stingy enough with patience to manage his madness. And together, Mr. and Mrs. Wahala became legends in Ajegunle, forever remembered for turning ordinary compound life into a never-ending comedy show.
If you enjoyed this video, don't just stop here. Hit that notification bell so you never miss any of our new uploads. Thank you so much for watching. Your love and your support means the world to me. I truly appreciate every single one of you. Stay tuned, more exciting videos are coming your way. Much love always.